Hello, hi, you're watching Oh Found Secrets. It's me again. I'm still making videos. And today I just wanted to share with you. Oh, shit, am I speaking into this or not? Hi. um, I wanted to share with you my witch kit because I don't know, I just thought that would be quite fun. Here it is. Ta-da-da-da! So basically, this is what I take with me if I am going to do some witchy activities. And I just cram everything that I need, or as much of it as possible, into my little copper cauldron, which I love and adore. And I also carry jars. Okay, not everything fits in the cauldron. So this is a jar of salt, or sometimes it will be sand. Salt or sand is what I usually use to fill the cauldron. So when I tip out all of the contents, I then fill it up with salt or sand, kind of like halfway full, maybe. And that's what I can place a little charcoal disc. I have my little for putting the little charcoal disc, and I just use shisha discs. A lighter, you really should have at least 2 lighters because you never know when one of them's just gonna stop working. So always have a lighter. Don't forget a candle. Oh my goodness, please don't forget a candle. I forgot a candle last time and it just made things a little bit more difficult, which is quite annoying. Another jar, a little jar of incense, just to make a mixture of whatever I fancy, really. Next up, I will have a bell of some kind. A little bottle of anointing oil. This is a little bundle of mugwort and rose petals. That's all it is. Sometimes there'll be rosemary in there as well. It'll be whatever herbs, like whatever's growing locally. And then, I just dry it on my windowsill and wrap it up with some thread of some kind. I try my best to travel light. Nobody likes to carry like a great big heavy bag, do they? I might bring a wand with me. It's got this little handy thing that I can, that works well. Sometimes I might bring a dagger, a cup. Oh, flippin' heck. A cup. I wouldn't bring like a glass, a wine glass like that. I mean, that's going to get broken, isn't it? This is a copper cup. Really like copper. Love copper. I've also got a wooden one. That's quite good because it's very lightweight. So a wooden cup, a copper cup, good idea. Can be very useful depending on what you're up to. So a candle in a jar is a really good idea because if you're outside, it's going to be windy. It's going to be windy no matter what the weather. You just know as soon as you try and light something with your little lighter, the wind's going all over the place and it's absolutely impossible. So if you have a little candle in a jar, and even protect it from the wind by putting it in the cauldron, is a good idea as well. So little tiny bottles of spring water, maybe a rock. Yeah, quite simple items. And I don't tend to bring a book with me. Sometimes maybe a little notebook can be handy, but most of the time I just use my brain. Yeah. But it can be quite handy to have a little notebook as well. So that's, a little tiny pocket notebook, that's quite handy as well. So I recommend that. Once I'm done with my little outing, all of my kit will just go back to my little altar area and can just be used for indoor use. So, these are just everyday items and what kind of purposes, what kind of stuff are you doing with this kit? Just simple little ceremonies, simple little rituals, simple little blessings and celebrations. I did a little hand fasting the other day. That was really lovely, by a little waterfall. It was gorgeous. And a little Beltane ritual a little while ago. That was very low key, very kind of like spontaneous, make it up as you go along, kind of like you can have like a rough idea of what you're going to do, and then just like in the moment, just like kind of go with the flow of what people feel like, basically in the moment. I think is a really nice way of doing things. That's my personal preference. I don't like it when things are like overly scripted, because I just feel like it gets very kind of stale feeling. But I think if you have like a specific thing that you want to read out, if you're good at reading things out, because not everybody is good at it. And actually, you should practice this kind of stuff. Like, this is an important part of the practice, is actually learning to speak. I do think it's a really important skill that should be part of your practice, is actually learning to speak in front of other people, because you're not always going to be alone doing everything solitary. There are going to be occasions where you're going to be with other people, probably, or if maybe, so maybe you should think about that aspect of it. I think witchcraft and magic and pagan ritual, it can be like a very private, solitary affair, but I think it's also important to balance that with communal activities, group activities, and creating that sense of community with other people. And yeah, it does have its challenges in itself, because obviously when you're by yourself, you can do literally anything that you like and not have to worry about other people's taste and preferences. Whereas when you're with a group of people, you have to consider that, not everybody likes your style, and other people have their own ideas about how things should be done. So you have to be aware and respectful. And if somebody else is doing something and you think, that's not really how I would do it, I mean, just allow it. Just allow it, and embrace the fact that people have different quirks, and that's okay. Actually, just go for it, try your best, and don't think to yourself that you have to be like some kind of expert in what you're doing, or that people are going to be judging you like you're not a real witch because you don't know how to do this. Like, it's not like that, really. I promise you. Not everyone who calls themselves a witch will use the word Wicca as well, because a lot of people just aren't too keen on that idea and just prefer to call what they do witchcraft. The easiest way to find out whether somebody is a Wiccan witch or just a witchy witch is to ask them, hey, is this Wicca? And then, they'll probably say, no, this is not Wicca. This is traditional witchcraft. And you kind of go, don't really see what the difference is, to be honest, but okay. Yeah, so we had all these kind of revival movements of people who wanted to bring back the old religions, and the witchcraft movement, that is kind of like a specific, interesting little movement in itself, because it's based on this idea of witches as being pagan, or having some elements of paganism to their beliefs, because obviously Europe, generally speaking, had been Christian for quite some time before the witch hunt started in the 16th century. And the whole witchcraft persecution was really down to a kind of religious fervor that was developed by the Puritan Christians, who got some ideas in their head about women, and and really got very paranoid about witches. And this is when the whole witchcraft persecutions kind of spread, and innocent women were basically dragged out of their homes and tortured and forced into confessing to being witches. And as a result, all kinds of wild, crazy stories about witches developed. That they're flying on broomsticks. That story is not that common. I don't know why we always talk about witches flying on broomsticks when the actual folklore from back then doesn't really mention it very much at all. That's weird, isn't it? Anyway, flying through the air, though, flying through the air by various means, eating babies and like just weird kind of stuff, like just crazy stories. Were developing at that time and circulating, and people believed it. Apparently, people really believed this stuff. They were really like, "Oh my god, witches stole my baby." And then later on, when the whole kind of witchcraft paranoia died down and people started to think, well, maybe we were wrong, maybe there weren't, witches flying through the air and doing diabolical things. Maybe that was all in our heads and we were just torturing women for no reason. Oh dear. Then some new ideas came up where they said, well, do you know what? Maybe there were women who really did think that they could fly through the air and that they could do all kinds of magical things. And maybe they did believe themselves to belong to some kind of cult, some kind of a witch cult. And this witch cult theory was written about by a lady called Margaret Murray, and she wrote some books in the 1930s. So it was around, the 1930s, 1940s that the little groups of people were popping up all over England, inspired by these texts, going, do you know what? That sounds like great fun. Let's do a ritual in the woods. Who wants to come? And they did it. And they called themselves witches. And bam, the modern witchcraft movement was born. And somewhere along the way, the word Wicca became very popular because that is the Anglo-Saxon Old English word for witch. And a lot of people like the idea of using Old English. And I think it was really in the 1960s that it became very popular to refer to the witch cult or witchcraft religion as Wicca. So that's how Wicca came to be. And that's what Wicca is. Wicca is the idea of a witchcraft religion or witch cult. That's how I define it, at least in the most simple ways possible. It's just the idea of a witch religion. That's what Wicca is. And it's a fun idea, and it might not be historically accurate, but people do have a good time gathering for their Wiccan rituals. I don't really know if I'm talking any sense today. I'm just kind of making this random video and hoping that you're going to enjoy it. Leave a comment down below.